So, you're probably wondering what's going on with Avatar, the Last Airbender Season 2, right? Well, let me tell you, this season is absolutely packed with developments that fans have been waiting for since the first season dropped on Netflix. The main premise of this season takes us deeper into Aang's journey as he continues to master the elements while racing against time to stop the Fire Nation. We're picking up right where Season 1 left off, with our favorite young Avatar now needing to learn earthbending while simultaneously dealing with the growing threat of Fire Lord Ozai's forces. The stakes are higher, the action is more intense, and honestly, the character development is through the roof this time around. What makes this season particularly interesting is how it balances the original animated series' beloved storylines with fresh interpretations that work for live action. The showrunners have really taken the feedback from Season 1 and applied it here, creating something that feels both familiar and excitingly new. We're seeing Aang struggle not just with bending, but with the weight of being the world's last hope, which adds this layer of psychological depth that makes the whole journey feel more real and relatable. The Fire Nation's presence is more menacing than ever, and you can feel the tension building in every episode as they close in on our heroes. Now, let's talk about the main characters because they're really what make this season shine. Aang, played once again by Cormier, has matured significantly since we last saw him. He's no longer just the carefree kid who got frozen in an iceberg for 100 years. There's this weight to his performance now, this understanding that he's carrying the fate of the entire world on his shoulders. Gordon really stepped up his game this season, bringing emotional depth to scenes that could have easily fallen flat. You can see Aang's internal struggle between wanting to be a normal kid and accepting his destiny as the Avatar, and it's portrayed beautifully. Katara, brought to life by Kiawentiio, has evolved tremendously as well. She's no longer just the waterbending novice from the Southern Water Tribe. This season shows her growing into a formidable bender in her own right, and her relationship with Aang becomes more complex and nuanced. There are these moments where you can see the conflict in her eyes, torn between her role as a protector and her own personal journey to master waterbending. The chemistry between Gordon and Kiawentiio has improved dramatically, making their on-screen relationship feel genuine and earned rather than forced. Then we have Sokka, played by Ian Ousley, who brings so much heart and humor to the role. Sokka's character arc this season is particularly compelling because we see him struggle with not being a bender while still trying to protect his sister and help the Avatar. Ian nails the comedic timing that Sokka is known for, but he also brings depth to the more serious moments. There's this episode where Sokka has to confront his own feelings of inadequacy, and Ian's performance there is absolutely stellar. You really feel for the guy, you know? He's just trying his best in a world where everyone else can throw fire or move water around. Prince Zuko's story continues to be one of the most captivating aspects of the series, and Dallas Liu absolutely crushes it in this role. Zuko's redemption arc is being handled with such care and attention to detail that you can't help but root for him, even when he's technically still one of the antagonists. This season explores his internal conflict more deeply, showing us the man he could become versus the person his father expects him to be. Dallas brings this intensity to every scene, making Zuko feel like a real person wrestling with impossible choices rather than just a one-dimensional villain. Uncle Iroh, portrayed by Paul Sun-hyung Lee, remains the emotional anchor of the series. If you weren't already in love with this character, this season will definitely seal the deal. Paul brings such warmth and wisdom to Iroh that every scene with him feels like a master class in acting. The relationship between Iroh and Zuko is explored even further this season, and there are moments that will absolutely wreck you emotionally. Iroh's guidance isn't just about tea and proverbs anymore. We're seeing the depths of his character and understanding why he's trying so hard to save his nephew from going down a dark path. The introduction of Toph Beifong is something fans have been anticipating since Season 1 was announced, and let me tell you, they absolutely nailed it. The casting choice here was crucial because Toph is such an iconic character from the original series, and the actress they chose brings exactly the right energy to the role. Toph is blind, yes, but she's also the greatest earthbender in the world, and watching her teach Aang is both hilarious and inspiring. Her personality is abrasive, confident, and completely unapologetic, which creates fantastic dynamics with the rest of Team Avatar. What's really cool about Toph's introduction is how they've adapted her discovery by Aang and the gang. In the original series, they find her at an earthbending tournament, and the live-action version stays true to this while adding its own flavor. The tournament scenes are visually spectacular, with earthbending effects that look so much better than Season 1. You can really feel the weight and power behind every boulder that gets thrown around. Toph's fighting style is unique because she uses seismic sense to see, and the show does a great job of visually representing this through creative cinematography and effects. The dynamic between Toph and the rest of the team is pure gold. She clashes with Katara immediately, which fans of the original will remember and appreciate. But what's different here is how they've expanded on these conflicts, giving both characters more depth in their disagreements. It's not just stubbornness for the sake of it. There are real philosophical differences in how they see the world and approach problems. Toph's independence and refusal to be coddled because of her blindness creates tension, but it also teaches the others important lessons about assumptions and respect. Azula's role has been expanded significantly this season, and she is absolutely terrifying in the best possible way. The actress portraying her captures Azula's calculated cruelty and perfectionism perfectly. Azula isn't just evil for the sake of being evil. She's a product of her father's expectations and the Fire Nation's culture. This season explores her relationship with her father, Fire Lord Ozai, and you start to understand why she is the way she is. There's this underlying tragedy to her character that makes her more than just a villain. She's a victim of circumstance who's perpetuating a cycle of abuse and conquest. The scenes between Azula and Zuko are electric with tension. Their sibling rivalry is portrayed with such intensity that you can feel the history between them in every interaction. Azula clearly has the upper hand, both in their father's favor and in her bending abilities. And she's not afraid to use that advantage, but there are these brief moments where you see something else, maybe a hint of actual concern or the remnants of a sibling bond that's been twisted by their upbringing. It's complex and nuanced, which is exactly what you want from these characters. Let's talk about Fire Lord Ozai, because his presence looms large over this entire season, even though we don't see him as much as other characters. The decision to keep him partially obscured or in shadow for much of the season is a smart one, building him up as this almost mythological figure of terror. When we do see him, he's commanding and absolutely ruthless, making it clear why the entire world fears the Fire Nation under his rule. His interactions with both Azula and Zuko reveal different facets of his character, showing how he manipulates and controls his children to serve his ambitions. Admiral Zhao returns this season with even more determination to capture the Avatar and gain glory for himself. The actor brings such arrogance to the role that you love to hate him. Zhao represents everything wrong with the Fire Nation's military mindset: ambition without wisdom, power without compassion, and pride that blinds him to his own limitations. His pursuit of Aang becomes increasingly desperate as the season progresses, leading to some really intense confrontations that showcase just how dangerous he can be when cornered. The supporting cast has been fleshed out beautifully this season. Characters from the various Earth Kingdom cities that Team Avatar visits are given real personalities and backstories rather than just being background decoration. There's this recurring character, a resistance fighter in one of the occupied territories, who becomes really important to the overall narrative. Their story shows the human cost of the Fire Nation's war in a way that feels personal and impactful. You're not just told that war is bad, you're shown it through the eyes of people trying to survive and maintain hope in impossible circumstances. The Kyoshi warriors make an appearance this season, and their scenes are absolutely fantastic. The fight choreography involving them is some of the best in the entire series. These warriors are skilled, disciplined, and completely badass, honoring the legacy of Avatar Kyoshi. Their leader, Suki, has great chemistry with Sokka, and their relationship develops in a way that feels natural and sweet without taking away from the main plot. Suki is portrayed as a capable fighter and leader in her own right, not just a love interest, which is really refreshing. Speaking of relationships, the development between various characters this season is handled with surprising maturity. The bond between Aang and Katara continues to grow, but it's not rushed or forced. There are subtle moments, meaningful glances, small gestures of care that build the foundation for something deeper. The show respects the fact that these are young people dealing with enormous pressure, and romance isn't necessarily their first priority. It's there, simmering beneath the surface, but it doesn't overshadow the main narrative about stopping the Fire Nation and mastering the elements. Sokka's growth as a strategist and warrior is given proper attention this season. We see him training, learning from his mistakes, and developing the tactical mind that he's known for in the original series. There's an entire subplot involving Sokka and a master swordsman that's incredibly well done. Without giving too much away, this storyline gives Sokka the character development he deserves, proving that you don't need to be a bender to be valuable and powerful. The sword-fighting sequences are beautifully choreographed and show a different style of combat from the bending we usually see. The spiritual aspects of Avatar lore are explored more deeply this season. We get to see more of the spirit world and understand better how it connects to the physical world. Aang's connection to his past lives is utilized more effectively, giving us glimpses of previous avatars and their wisdom. These spiritual sequences are visually stunning, with the spirit world looking appropriately otherworldly and mysterious. The show does a great job of balancing these mystical elements with the more grounded, physical conflicts happening in the real world. Avatar Roku's appearances this season are particularly meaningful. Through Aang's visions and spiritual connections, we learn more about Roku's friendship with Fire Lord Sozin and how that relationship deteriorated, ultimately leading to the 100-Year War. These flashbacks are crucial for understanding the history of the conflict and why Aang's role as the Avatar is so important. The parallel between Roku's failure to stop Sozin and Aang's determination not to repeat that mistake adds emotional weight to Aang's journey. The inclusion of other past avatars provides fascinating insights into the Avatar's role throughout history. We see how different avatars approached their duties and the challenges they faced. Some were warriors, some were diplomats, some struggled with their identity just like Aang does. This historical perspective makes the Avatar cycle feel more real and lived in, like there's actual weight and tradition behind it. It also helps Aang understand that there's no single right way to be the Avatar. He has to find his own path while learning from those who came before. Now let's get into the actual plot progression of the season because there's a lot happening. The season opens with Team Avatar in a precarious position, on the run from the Fire Nation and trying to find an earthbending teacher for Aang. The first few episodes establish the stakes and reintroduce us to this world, but things really kick into gear when they reach the Earth Kingdom. The Earth Kingdom itself is portrayed as a vast, diverse nation with different cities having different cultures and attitudes toward the war. Some places are still free and fighting, while others are under Fire Nation occupation or have given up hope. Aang's struggle to learn earthbending is a central focus of the early season. Earthbending requires a mindset completely opposite to airbending, which is Aang's natural element. Where airbending is about evasion and spiritual connection, earthbending demands confrontation and standing your ground. This creates genuine conflict for Aang's character, because he has to fundamentally change his approach to problems. Toph's teaching methods are unconventional and harsh, pushing Aang out of his comfort zone in ways that are necessary but difficult to watch sometimes. The training sequences between Toph and Aang are both entertaining and meaningful. Toph doesn't coddle Aang or make excuses for him. She treats him like any other student, maybe even harder, because he's the Avatar and needs to learn fast. There's this great episode where Aang keeps failing at a basic earthbending move because he's approaching it with an airbender's mentality. The frustration builds until there's this breakthrough moment that's incredibly satisfying. You really feel Aang's triumph when he finally gets it, and it's a testament to both the writing and the acting that these training scenes never feel boring. Meanwhile, Zuko and Iroh's journey takes them deeper into Earth Kingdom territory, as they're now fugitives from the Fire Nation. This season explores what it means for Zuko to be stripped of his title and resources, forcing him to see the world from a different perspective. There are episodes where Zuko and Iroh have to live among Earth Kingdom citizens, and Zuko starts to see the humanity in the people he was raised to think of as enemies. These moments are crucial for his character development and are handled with sensitivity and care. One of the standout episodes this season focuses entirely on Zuko and Iroh in an Earth Kingdom city, trying to make an honest living. It's quieter than the action-packed episodes, but it's incredibly powerful in showing how war affects ordinary people. Iroh finds work at a tea shop, which is perfect for his character, and we get these wonderful scenes of him just being himself, spreading kindness and wisdom to strangers. Zuko struggles more with adapting to this new life, his anger and frustration constantly bubbling beneath the surface. The contrast between them highlights their different philosophies and shows why Iroh is trying so hard to guide Zuko toward a better path. Azula's mission to capture Zuko and Iroh adds another layer of danger to their storyline. She's hunting them with the same cold efficiency she applies to everything, but there are complications. Azula is accompanied by her childhood friends Mai and Ty Lee, and the dynamic between these three is fascinating. Mai is deadpan and seemingly emotionless, while Ty Lee is bubbly and acrobatic. Together, they form a formidable team that poses a serious threat to our heroes. The show does a good job of giving each of them distinct personalities and motivations beyond just serving Azula. The confrontations between Azula's group and Team Avatar are some of the best action sequences in the season. The choreography is intricate, with each character's fighting style being distinct and recognizable. When these two groups clash, it's not just random fighting, it's strategic combat, where each side is trying to outsmart the other. The bending effects have improved significantly from Season 1, with fire looking hotter and more dangerous, earth feeling heavy and powerful, and water flowing naturally while still being a weapon. There's this major story arc involving the city of Ba Sing Se that becomes increasingly important as the season progresses. Ba Sing Se is the last great stronghold of the Earth Kingdom, a massive city with impenetrable walls that the Fire Nation has never conquered. The show portrays it as this complex place with different rings representing different social classes, which is taken straight from the original series but expanded upon. The politics within Ba Sing Se are complicated, with various factions having different ideas about how to handle the war. Team Avatar's journey to reach Ba Sing Se is filled with obstacles and adventures. Along the way, they encounter various characters who need help, and Aang's compassionate nature means they often stop to assist people even when it delays their mission. These side adventures aren't just filler. They serve to show the impact of the war on regular people and reinforce why Aang needs to stop the Fire Nation. Each encounter teaches the characters something new about the world or about themselves, contributing to their overall growth. The structure of Ba Sing Se itself is visually impressive in the live-action adaptation. The walls are enormous, dwarfing everything around them, really selling the idea that this city has never fallen. Inside, the different rings are clearly distinct, from the lower ring where refugees and poor citizens live to the upper ring where the wealthy and powerful reside. This visual class distinction is important for understanding the political dynamics at play and sets up some of the conflicts that emerge later in the season. When Team Avatar finally enters Ba Sing Se, they quickly realize that something is off about the city. There's this enforced cheerfulness, a refusal to acknowledge that there's even a war happening. The cultural police, known as The Dai Li maintain order, but in a way that feels oppressive and sinister. The show does a great job of creating this atmosphere of subtle wrongness, where everything looks fine on the surface, but there are clear signs that all is not well. It's creepy and effective, making you understand why people who know what's really going on are frustrated and frightened. The Dai Li are portrayed as these elite earthbenders who are loyal not to the Earth Kingdom as a whole, but to maintaining the status quo in Ba Sing Se. They're intimidating and skilled, using earthbending in ways we haven't seen before. Their rock gloves and precision bending make them formidable opponents. The leader of the Dai Li is introduced as a complex character with his own agenda, and the actor brings a quiet menace to the role. You're never quite sure what he's thinking, which makes him unpredictable and dangerous. The subplot involving the conspiracy within Ba Sing Se is handled with the gravity it deserves. Without spoiling too much, there are forces at work within the city that are undermining the Earth Kingdom from within. The show takes time to develop this conspiracy, dropping hints and building tension until the truth is revealed. When the conspiracy does come to light, it's shocking, even for viewers who know the original story, because of how it's presented and the real-world parallels it draws about propaganda and control. Aang's attempt to meet with the Earth King and convince him to support the war effort becomes a central objective. However, getting an audience with the king proves incredibly difficult due to the bureaucracy and the interference of those who want to maintain the current system. These episodes are frustrating in a good way. You feel Team Avatar's desperation as they're blocked at every turn by red tape and politics. It shows a different kind of obstacle from the physical dangers they usually face, highlighting that systems and institutions can be just as difficult to overcome as enemy soldiers. Katara has her own significant subplot this season involving her waterbending training. She seeks out a waterbending master and faces discrimination because of her gender. The original series tackled this issue, and the live-action version handles it with appropriate seriousness. Katara's determination to prove herself and break through these barriers is inspiring, and the actress brings real fire to these scenes. You feel Katara's frustration and anger at being underestimated and restricted simply because she's a woman, and her triumph over these obstacles is genuinely empowering. The development of Katara's abilities this season is impressive. We see her learning advanced techniques and becoming more confident in her bending. There's a particular sequence where she learns blood bending, which is one of the darker aspects of waterbending. The show doesn't shy away from the ethical implications of such a technique, and Katara's horror at what she's capable of adds depth to her character. It raises questions about power and responsibility that resonate throughout the rest of the season. Sokka's storyline intersects with the Earth Kingdom's military resistance, where his tactical mind is finally recognized and valued. He's given opportunities to contribute in meaningful ways, using his intelligence and creativity to solve problems that bending alone can't fix. There's this great moment where Sokka comes up with a plan that saves the day, and you can see his confidence grow as he realizes he has value beyond just being the funny guy without powers. It's a satisfying character moment that's been building since Season 1. The relationship between Sokka and Suki is developed further when they reunite in Ba Sing Se. Their scenes together are sweet and genuine, showing two young people connecting over shared values and mutual respect. Suki is dealing with her own challenges, protecting refugees and trying to maintain hope in a city that's built on denial. Her strength and dedication make her a perfect match for Sokka, and their relationship adds a nice emotional counterpoint to all the political intrigue and action happening around them. Toph's backstory is explored in more depth this season, including her relationship with her wealthy parents who never understood or appreciated her abilities. The show handles this with sensitivity, showing how even loving parents can harm their children by trying to protect them too much or by refusing to see who they really are. Toph's decision to leave her family and join Team Avatar is portrayed as both liberating and painful. She gains freedom but loses the security and comfort of home, and you see her grapple with that trade-off throughout the season. The bond between Toph and the rest of Team Avatar solidifies over the course of the season. Initially, she's resistant to the idea of being part of a team, priding herself on her independence. But gradually, through shared experiences and genuine care from her new friends, Toph starts to open up. There's this beautiful moment where she admits that she's never really had friends before, and the vulnerability in that scene is touching. It shows that even the toughest, most independent person needs connection and support. The visual effects this season deserve special mention because they've improved dramatically from the first season. The bending looks more natural and powerful, the scale of the battles is more impressive, and the spiritual sequences are genuinely beautiful. The effects team clearly listened to feedback and put in the work to make the bending feel like a real part of this world rather than something added in post-production. When characters bend elements, you can feel the weight and impact of their actions, which makes the fights more exciting and believable. The cinematography this season is also noteworthy. The camera work during fight scenes is dynamic without being chaotic, allowing you to actually see what's happening rather than just a blur of motion. The use of wide shots to show the scale of locations like Ba Sing Se or the Earth Kingdom landscapes is effective in making the world feel vast and real. Lighting is used to great effect, particularly in scenes set in the spirit world or during emotionally significant moments, helping to guide the viewer's emotional response. The color palette of the season shifts depending on the location and tone of the scene. The Earth Kingdom is rendered in greens and browns, feeling grounded and solid compared to the blues and whites of the Water Tribe or the reds and oranges of the Fire Nation. These visual distinctions help orient the viewer and reinforce the unique cultures and philosophies of each nation. It's a small detail, but it contributes significantly to the world building and makes each location feel distinct. The costume design continues to be exceptional, with each character's clothing reflecting their personality and background. Toph's outfit is practical and durable, perfect for someone who fights by feeling vibrations in the earth. Azula's armor is sleek and intimidating, mirroring her precision and ruthlessness. The Earth Kingdom citizens wear varied clothing that shows the diversity within the nation, from the practical garments of farmers to the elaborate robes of Ba Sing Se's elite. These details add authenticity to the world and help sell the reality of these different cultures. The music and sound design play a crucial role in setting the tone throughout the season. The score incorporates traditional instruments from various Asian cultures, giving each nation its own musical identity. The Earth Kingdom's theme is grounded and powerful, using drums and string instruments to convey strength and endurance. The Fire Nation's music is aggressive and bold, while the Water Tribe's themes are flowing and melodic. These musical motifs help reinforce the distinct identities of each culture and enhance the emotional impact of key scenes. Sound effects for bending are particularly well done this season. Each element has its own distinct sound profile: earth rumbles and crashes, water flows and splashes, fire roars and crackles, and air whistles and whooshes. These sounds are mixed in a way that makes the action feel visceral and real. During big battle sequences, the sound design creates a sense of chaos and danger without becoming overwhelming or confusing. You can track what's happening even when there's a lot going on visually, which is a testament to the skill of the sound team. The pacing of the season is generally very good, balancing action-heavy episodes with character-focused ones. There's a rhythm to how the story unfolds, with tension building toward major confrontations and then allowing time for characters to process and react to what's happened. This prevents the season from feeling exhausting while maintaining forward momentum. Each episode feels purposeful, contributing to either plot progression or character development, and very little feels like wasted time. However, there are moments where the pacing does slow down, particularly in the middle section of the season. A few episodes feel like they're treading water, setting up future events but not providing enough immediate payoff. These slower episodes aren't bad, but compared to the high-energy episodes around them, they can feel a bit sluggish. That said, even these episodes contain important character moments and world building that pay off later, so they're not without value. The writing this season has improved notably from Season 1. The dialogue feels more natural, with characters speaking in ways that suit their personalities rather than just delivering exposition. There's better humor integrated throughout, with jokes that land without undercutting serious moments. The balance between staying faithful to the source material and making necessary adaptations for live action has been struck more successfully. Changes that are made generally serve the story and make sense for the medium. One of the strengths of the writing is how it handles the moral complexity of the story. The Fire Nation isn't portrayed as entirely evil, and we see Fire Nation citizens who are kind and just want to live their lives. Similarly, not everyone in the Earth Kingdom or Water Tribe is purely good. There are selfish, corrupt, and cruel people in every nation. This nuance makes the world feel more realistic and raises interesting questions about war, nationalism, and individual versus collective responsibility. The themes explored this season are weighty and relevant. The show examines what it means to stand up against oppression, the importance of hope in dark times, the complexity of redemption, and the cost of war on ordinary people. These themes are woven throughout the narrative rather than being heavy-handedly stated, allowing viewers to engage with them on their own terms. The show trusts its audience to understand and think about these deeper meanings without spelling everything out. The representation in the show continues to be commendable, with a diverse cast that reflects the Asian and indigenous influences that the Avatar world is based on. The show takes these cultural elements seriously, consulting with cultural advisors to ensure respectful and accurate representation. From the martial arts styles used in bending to the architectural designs of different cities, there's clear care taken to honor the source cultures. This attention to detail enriches the world and provides representation that's meaningful rather than superficial. Female characters are given agency and depth throughout the season. Katara, Toph, Azula, Suki, and the various other women we meet are all fully realized characters with their own motivations, strengths, and flaws. They're not defined solely by their relationships to male characters, though those relationships are also explored. The show passes the Bechdel test regularly, with women talking to each other about their goals, their training, their beliefs, and their strategies. It's refreshing and important, especially in an action-adventure series. The portrayal of disability through Toph's character is handled thoughtfully. Toph is blind, and the show doesn't shy away from this fact or pretend it's not a part of her life. However, it also doesn't define her entire character. Her blindness influences how she interacts with the world and actually gives her unique advantages through her seismic sense. The show avoids inspiration exploitation, instead presenting Toph as a complete person who happens to be blind and who has adapted in ways that make her incredibly powerful. It's a positive representation that shows disability as a part of diversity, rather than something to be pitied or overcome. The training and growth of Aang as the Avatar is portrayed realistically, showing that mastery doesn't come easily or quickly. Even though Aang is the Avatar and has the potential to master all four elements, he still has to put in the work and face his limitations. His struggles with earthbending feel earned, and his eventual progress is satisfying because we've seen him fail and persist. This approach makes Aang's journey feel more relatable. Even someone with incredible natural gifts has to work hard and push through difficulties to achieve their potential. The philosophical differences between the elements and what they represent are explored more deeply this season. Airbending is about freedom and spirituality, waterbending about change and adaptability, earthbending about strength and stability, and firebending about power and will. These aren't just abstract concepts. They're reflected in the cultures of each nation and in how benders approach problems. Aang's journey to master all four elements is as much about understanding these different philosophies as it is about learning the physical techniques. The political intrigue within Ba Sing Se becomes increasingly important as the season progresses. There are multiple factions with different agendas: those who genuinely want to protect the city, those who want to use the situation for personal gain, and those who have been compromised by Fire Nation infiltration. Navigating these political waters proves to be one of Team Avatar's biggest challenges. They're skilled fighters, and Aang is a powerful bender. But dealing with bureaucracy, manipulation, and systemic corruption requires different skills. The introduction of Long Feng as a major antagonist is handled well. He's not a bender warrior like Azula or Zhao. His power comes from his control over information and his manipulation of the government. This makes him a different kind of threat, one that can't be defeated with bending alone. The actor portrays Long Feng with a quiet, controlled menace that makes him genuinely unsettling. You can see his mind working, always calculating how to maintain and expand his power. The relationship between Long Feng and the Earth King is fascinating to watch develop. The king has been kept isolated and ignorant of the real situation in his kingdom, essentially a puppet for Long Feng to control. When Team Avatar tries to reach the king and reveal the truth, Long Feng's efforts to prevent this create significant tension. The eventual confrontation when the king learns what's been happening is a powerful moment, showing both his sheltered naivety and his genuine desire to do right by his people. The Dai Li's true allegiance and their methods of controlling information in Ba Sing Se are revealed to be more sinister than initially apparent. They've created an entire system based on denying reality, forcing citizens to pretend the war doesn't exist and disappearing anyone who challenges this narrative. It's a chilling portrayal of authoritarian control and propaganda, showing how power can be maintained not through force alone, but through controlling what people know and believe. The parallels to real-world situations make this storyline particularly resonant. Jet's appearance this season adds another layer of moral complexity. Jet is a freedom fighter who has taken his resistance to the Fire Nation to extremes, willing to harm innocent people if they're Fire Nation citizens or even if they're just in the way. His interactions with the team, particularly with Katara, explore the question of whether the ends justify the means. Can violence and moral compromise be justified in the fight against oppression? The show doesn't provide easy answers, instead presenting the complexity of the situation and letting viewers think about it themselves. The tragedy of Jet's storyline is handled with appropriate weight. His anger at the Fire Nation is understandable given what they've done, but his methods are destructive and ultimately self-defeating. The show portrays him as sympathetic despite his flaws, making his fate genuinely sad. It's a reminder that war creates casualties in many forms, not just on the battlefield. Young people like Jet, who should be living normal lives, are instead consumed by anger and violence, and breaking that cycle is incredibly difficult. Zuko's internal struggle reaches a critical point this season. He's been on this journey of self-discovery, seeing the world beyond Fire Nation propaganda and forming genuine connections with people outside his nation. But his ingrained desire to regain his honor and his father's approval keeps pulling him back. The show does an excellent job of portraying this internal conflict without making Zuko's choices predictable. You understand both sides of his struggle, which makes his decisions impactful regardless of which way he goes. The relationship between Zuko and Iroh is tested this season in ways it hasn't been before. Iroh has been patient and supportive, but there are moments where you can see his frustration and pain when Zuko seems to be regressing or ignoring his guidance. The love between them is clear, but so is the tension created by their different visions for Zuko's future. The actors convey this complicated dynamic beautifully, making their scenes together some of the most emotionally rich in the entire season. There's a significant encounter between Zuko and Aang this season that doesn't result in a typical fight. Instead, they actually talk and for a moment connect as two young people dealing with impossible expectations. It's a brief glimpse of what could be, a hint of the alliance they might form if circumstances were different. This scene is important because it shows that Zuko and Aang aren't destined to be enemies forever. They're products of their situations and the choices they make. It plants seeds for future developments while being meaningful in its own right. Azula's manipulation tactics are on full display this season. She's a master of psychological warfare, knowing exactly how to play on people's fears, desires, and insecurities. Her encounters with Zuko are particularly painful to watch, because you can see how she gets inside his head, undermining his confidence and exploiting his need for approval. The show portrays manipulation realistically, showing how skilled manipulators work and why it's so difficult to resist them even when you know what they're doing. The dynamic between Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee evolves over the season. Initially, it seems like Mai and Ty Lee are just following Azula out of loyalty or fear, but we start to see cracks in this relationship. Mai's deadpan comments hint at resentment, and Ty Lee's cheerfulness sometimes seems like a mask for deeper discomfort. These small moments suggest that Azula's control over her friends isn't as absolute as she believes, setting up potential future conflicts. It's subtle character work that adds depth to what could have been one-dimensional villainous sidekicks. The action sequences throughout the season are varied and creative. No two fights feel exactly the same because the show takes advantage of different environments and combinations of benders. A fight in a forest looks and feels different from one in a city or on a frozen lake. The bending is used creatively, with characters combining elements in interesting ways or using their environment to advantage. The choreographers clearly put thought into making each encounter unique and visually interesting. One particular standout fight sequence involves multiple benders from different nations all fighting in the same space. The chaos of trying to track earth, fire, and water all being thrown around while non-benders use weapons and agility creates this fantastic spectacle. The camera work keeps it comprehensible while conveying the intensity of the moment. The stakes feel real, and the outcome isn't predictable, which keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's the kind of scene that takes full advantage of the Avatar universe's unique combat system. The quieter character moments are just as important as the action scenes and are given appropriate time and attention. There are conversations around campfires, training sessions that turn into heart-to-hearts, and moments of reflection that allow characters to process what they're experiencing. These scenes prevent the season from being just a series of fights strung together and instead make it a complete narrative about people growing and changing through their experiences. The humor in the season is well integrated and consistent with each character's personality. Sokka provides most of the comic relief with his sarcasm and tendency to state the obvious in funny ways, but other characters get moments to be funny too. Toph's bluntness and lack of filter create humor. Ira's wisdom sometimes comes with playful jokes, and even serious characters like Katara have moments of levity. The humor never feels forced or out of place. It's a natural part of how these characters interact. The romantic subplots are handled with restraint appropriate to the characters' ages and situations. The developing feelings between Aang and Katara are sweet and tentative, never overwhelming the main plot. Sokka and Suki's relationship is given space to grow naturally. Even the tragic element of Jin briefly connecting with Zuko in Ba Sing Se is touching without being melodramatic. The show understands that romance is a part of these characters' lives, but not the defining aspect, especially given the larger mission they're on. The world building continues to be a strength of the series. We learn more about the history of the war, the different cultures within each nation, and how bending is integrated into everyday life, not just combat. There are scenes showing earthbenders working in construction, waterbenders using their abilities for healing and fishing, and firebenders in factories. This makes bending feel like a real part of the world's culture and economy, rather than just a cool power for fighting. The spirit world's connection to the physical world is explored further, with consequences for actions in one affecting the other. The show establishes rules for how spirits work and what happens when the balance between worlds is disturbed. This spiritual element adds a layer of mysticism to the story that distinguishes it from more straightforward action shows. The spirit world sequences are visually distinct and often beautiful, creating a sense of wonder and otherness. The consequences of war are shown not just through battles, but through refugees, destroyed villages, and families torn apart. The show doesn't sanitize war or make it seem glorious. It's portrayed as a tragedy that creates suffering for ordinary people who just want to live their lives. This grounding in reality gives weight to Aang's mission to end the war and makes the stakes feel personal and urgent. You understand that every day the war continues, more people suffer. The climax of the season builds tension effectively over several episodes. Multiple plot threads start converging, with Team Avatar's mission in Ba Sing Se, Azula's schemes, Zuko's internal struggle, and the Fire Nation's larger plans all coming together. The show juggles these different storylines well, cutting between them to maintain momentum while ensuring each gets adequate resolution. The pacing accelerates as the climax approaches, creating a sense of urgency and inevitability. Without revealing too much for those who haven't watched, the season finale delivers on the build-up, with significant consequences and changes to the status quo. Decisions made in the finale will have lasting impacts on the characters and the world going forward. The emotional beats hit hard, with moments of triumph, tragedy, hope, and despair all woven together. It's ambitious storytelling that trusts the audience to handle complexity and moral ambiguity. The performances during the climactic episodes are particularly strong, with the young cast rising to the challenge of the heavy emotional material. You can see how much they've grown into these roles over the course of the season. The moments of vulnerability, determination, fear, and courage all feel genuine. The actors have developed strong chemistry with each other, making the relationships feel real and earned, which in turn makes us care more about what happens to them. The visual spectacle of the finale is impressive, with large-scale bending battles and dramatic confrontations. The effects budget was clearly saved for these crucial moments, and it shows. The bending looks powerful and dangerous. The environments are dynamic and detailed, and the cinematography captures the scale and intensity of what's happening. It's the kind of sequence that could easily be overwhelming, but the direction keeps it focused and emotionally grounded. The emotional climax hits just as hard as the action climax. There are character moments in the finale that are genuinely heartbreaking, showing the cost of the choices being made. The show doesn't shy away from consequences and actions have real impacts on the characters and their relationships. Some bonds are strengthened, others are broken, and the landscape of the show is fundamentally changed by the time the finale ends. The season ends on a note that provides resolution to the immediate storylines while setting up clear directions for future seasons. It's satisfying as a conclusion to this chapter while making you eager to see what comes next. Major questions are answered, but new ones are raised. Character arcs reach significant milestones, but aren't completely resolved because these characters are still growing and changing. It's the kind of season finale that leaves you feeling fulfilled, but hungry for more. Looking at the season as a whole, it represents a significant improvement over the first season in almost every way. The confidence in the storytelling is evident, with the creative team clearly more comfortable in this world and with these characters. The pacing is tighter, the character development is deeper, the action is more impressive, and the themes are explored more thoughtfully. It feels like a show that has found its identity and is executing its vision with skill and passion. The performances across the board have improved, with the young actors particularly showing growth in their craft. Gordon Cormier's Aang is more nuanced, carrying the weight of his responsibilities while maintaining the character's essential optimism and compassion. Kiawentiio brings strength and vulnerability to Katara in equal measure. Ian Ousley makes Sokka both funny and heroic without either aspect overshadowing the other. Dallas Liu's Zuko remains the standout, delivering a complex portrayal of internal conflict that never feels repetitive despite being central to his character. The additions to the cast this season integrate seamlessly. Toph's actress brings exactly the right energy, making the character feel fresh while honoring what fans love about her. Azula's portrayer is genuinely intimidating while hinting at the damage beneath the surface. The supporting cast members all contribute meaningfully, with no performance feeling wasted or phoned in. There's a sense that everyone involved understands the assignment and is committed to making something special. The technical aspects of the production have all been elevated. The cinematography is more ambitious and artistic, using camera movement and framing to enhance the storytelling rather than just capturing it. The editing is sharper, with better rhythm and flow between scenes. The sound design and music work together to create an immersive experience. The visual effects, while not always perfect, are consistently good and sometimes genuinely impressive, particularly in how they integrate bending into the live-action world. The costume and production design continue to be highlights, with incredible attention to detail in creating this world. Every location feels lived in and real, from the grandeur of Ba Sing Se to the humble villages of the Earth Kingdom. The costumes tell you about characters before they even speak, reflecting their backgrounds, personalities, and character arcs. The props and set dressing add authenticity, making it easy to believe in this world and its cultures. The writing has matured significantly, finding a better balance between exposition and showing. The dialogue feels more natural, with characters speaking like real people rather than just delivering plot information. The humor is better integrated, the dramatic moments earn their weight, and the quiet character scenes are given space to breathe. The adaptation choices generally serve the story, keeping what works from the source material while making changes that make sense for live action. One of the most impressive aspects of this season is how it handles the balance between being accessible to newcomers and satisfying for fans of the original animated series. You don't need to have watched the cartoon to understand and enjoy this story. It stands on its own as a complete narrative. However, if you are familiar with the source material, there are references, adaptations of beloved moments, and deeper layers that enhance the experience. It's a difficult balance to strike, and the show manages it well. The themes explored this season resonate beyond the fantasy setting. Questions about redemption and whether people can truly change, the responsibility that comes with power, the importance of hope in dark times, the complexity of war and propaganda, and the value of friendship and chosen family all feel relevant and meaningful. The show doesn't preach or provide easy answers, but instead presents these themes through the characters' experiences and lets viewers engage with them thoughtfully. The representation in the show remains important and well handled. The diverse cast feels natural in this world, and the cultural influences are treated with respect. The show continues to provide positive representation of different types of strength, different approaches to problems, and different ways of being heroic. Female characters, characters with disabilities, and characters of color are all central to the story and given depth and agency. The show's treatment of its young characters as complex individuals rather than simplified versions of adults is commendable. Aang, Katara, Sokka, Toph, Zuko, Azula, and the others are all allowed to be young, to make mistakes, to be confused, to have conflicting emotions. Their youth isn't ignored, but neither are they patronized. They're portrayed as people capable of growth, bravery, and wisdom while still being affected by their limited experience and emotional immaturity in realistic ways. The moral complexity of the story is maintained throughout without becoming cynical or overly dark. Yes, war is terrible and people do bad things, but there's also genuine heroism, kindness, and hope. The Fire Nation has done terrible things, but individual Fire Nation citizens aren't automatically evil. The heroes make mistakes and sometimes fail, but they keep trying. This nuanced approach makes the world feel real and the stakes meaningful without descending into grimdark territory that would be inappropriate for the story being told. The pacing across the season works well overall, though it's not perfect. The beginning establishes the stakes and reintroduces the characters effectively. The middle builds on this foundation while developing new elements and relationships. The end brings everything together in a satisfying climax. There are a few episodes that feel like they're marking time, but even these contain worthwhile character moments or world building. The overall trajectory of the season maintains momentum and purpose. The direction shows confidence and vision, with each episode feeling like part of a cohesive whole rather than disconnected installments. There's visual consistency in how bending is portrayed, how action is choreographed, and how emotional beats are handled. The directors understand when to let quiet moments play out and when to amp up the energy. The show has developed a distinct visual and tonal identity that sets it apart from other fantasy series. The production clearly learned from the feedback to Season 1, addressing concerns about pacing, tone, and character development while maintaining what worked. This responsiveness to criticism while staying true to the vision is commendable and has resulted in a better product. It suggests that future seasons will continue to improve as the creative team refines their approach and grows more comfortable with the material. Fan reception to this season has been generally positive, with many noting the improvements over Season 1. Die-hard fans of the original animated series have been pleased with how iconic moments and characters have been adapted. Newcomers have found the season accessible and engaging. The show seems to have found its audience and delivered something that satisfies them, which is crucial for a series hoping to continue for multiple seasons. Critical reception has also been warmer than for Season 1. Reviewers have praised the improved pacing, the stronger performances, the visual effects, and the thematic depth. Some criticisms remain, particularly around occasional pacing issues and the difficulty of condensing the source material story into fewer episodes. However, the overall consensus is that this is a solid season of television that successfully brings a beloved animated series into live action. The show's impact extends beyond just being an adaptation. It's introduced Avatar, the Last Airbender, to a new generation who might not have discovered the animated series otherwise. It's sparked renewed interest in the original, leading many viewers to go back and watch or rewatch the cartoon. It's demonstrated that thoughtful, respectful adaptations of animated properties can work in live action when approached with care and skill. Looking forward, this season sets up numerous intriguing possibilities for future installments. Character arcs are positioned for continued development, new conflicts have been established, and the world has been expanded in ways that open up storytelling opportunities. The foundation has been laid for subsequent seasons to build on, with characters, relationships, and political situations all primed for further exploration. The cliffhangers and unresolved threads at the end of the season create anticipation for what comes next without feeling cheap or manipulative. They're natural extensions of the storylines that have been developing, and they raise genuine questions about what will happen to these characters we've come to care about. It's effective in making you want to see more while still providing enough resolution that the season feels complete on its own terms. In terms of weaknesses, the season isn't perfect. There are moments where the dialogue can be a bit clunky, particularly when conveying exposition. Some CGI effects don't quite reach the level of quality seen elsewhere in the season, breaking immersion briefly. A few storylines feel rushed, while others could have been tightened. The balance between different plot lines occasionally feels off, with some characters getting more development than others. The compression of the original story to fit into fewer episodes remains a challenge. Fans of the animated series will notice that some beloved side adventures and character moments have been cut or significantly altered. While most of these changes make sense for adaptation purposes, there's still a sense of loss for some of the smaller moments that added flavor to the original. The show has to keep moving forward with the main plot, sometimes at the expense of the quieter character work. Some relationships and dynamics don't get as much screen time as they deserve. With so many characters and plot lines to juggle, certain interactions that would have enriched the story are minimized or absent. The show does the best it can with the time available, but there's a sense that a few more episodes per season would allow for better development of secondary characters and relationships. The tone occasionally wobbles between lighter moments and darker themes, not always transitioning smoothly. The show is trying to maintain the all-ages appeal of the original, while also adding depth and dealing with serious subjects. And this balancing act doesn't always work perfectly. There are moments that feel too childish, followed immediately by scenes dealing with heavy themes, and the tonal shift can be jarring. Despite these weaknesses, the season succeeds far more often than it fails. The strengths significantly outweigh the flaws, and the overall experience is engaging, emotionally satisfying, and visually impressive. The show has found its footing and delivered a season that honors its source material while standing on its own as quality television. It's the kind of fantasy series that works for both younger viewers and adults, offering action, humor, heart, and thought-provoking themes. The season demonstrates that Avatar, The Last Airbender, can work in live action when given proper care, budget, and creative talent. It proves that animation to live-action adaptations don't have to be disasters, that they can actually enhance and expand the original material when done right. This is important not just for Avatar but for the larger landscape of adaptations, showing studios and creators what's possible when you respect the source material and your audience. The cultural impact of the season has been significant, with social media buzzing about episodes as they released, fan art and discussions proliferating, and genuine excitement about where the story goes next. It's created a community of viewers who engage with the show beyond just passive watching, analyzing themes, debating character choices, and creating content inspired by the series. This kind of engagement is what studios hope for and what ensures a show's longevity. The show has also been praised for its positive representation and the messages it sends. In a media landscape that can feel cynical and dark, Avatar, The Last Airbender offers hope, shows the power of friendship and compassion, demonstrates that change is possible, and celebrates different cultures and ways of being. These messages resonate, particularly with younger viewers who are forming their worldviews, but they're delivered in ways that don't feel preachy or simplistic. The action sequences have been highlighted as a particular strength, with the bending fights being unlike anything else on television. The combination of martial arts, elemental effects, and creative choreography creates something unique and exciting. These aren't generic fight scenes, but carefully crafted sequences that showcase each character's style and personality, while advancing the story and raising the stakes. The emotional depth of the season has surprised some viewers who might have expected a more straightforward action-adventure show. The complex feelings the characters experience, the difficult choices they face, and the relationships they navigate all feel genuine and earned. The show doesn't shy away from showing pain, loss, and moral ambiguity while maintaining an ultimately hopeful outlook. This emotional intelligence elevates the material beyond simple entertainment. The music has become iconic for the series, with themes that are memorable and emotionally resonant. The score enhances every scene, whether it's an action sequence, a quiet character moment, or a grand establishing shot of a new location. The use of cultural instruments and musical styles appropriate to each nation adds authenticity and helps distinguish different parts of the world. The music has become something fans seek out and listen to independent of the show, which speaks to its quality and impact. In comparing this season to Season 1, the growth is evident and impressive. Everything that worked before has been refined and improved. Issues that plagued the first season have been addressed. The creative team clearly listened to feedback and put in the effort to deliver something better, which shows respect for the audience and commitment to quality. It's encouraging for future seasons and suggests that the show will continue to evolve and improve. The season has achieved what any good middle chapter should. It builds on what came before, develops the characters and world further, raises the stakes, and sets up what's to come, all while being satisfying in its own right. It doesn't feel like just a bridge between beginning and end, but like a complete story that happens to be part of a larger narrative. That's difficult to achieve, and the fact that the show manages it speaks to the skill of everyone involved. For viewers wondering whether to invest time in the series, this season makes a compelling case. If you enjoyed Season 1, you'll almost certainly like this even more. If you were on the fence about Season 1, this season addresses many of the issues you might have had. If you're new to Avatar entirely, this season demonstrates why the property has such a devoted fan base and why these stories have endured. It's accessible, engaging, and rewarding. The rewatchability of the season is high, with details and foreshadowing that become apparent on second viewing. The performances have layers that you might miss the first time through, and the visual storytelling includes background elements and subtle cues that enrich the narrative. It's the kind of season that rewards attention and repeated viewing, which adds value and longevity to the product. The legacy of this season will likely be that it proved the viability of the live-action Avatar series and set it on course for a complete adaptation of the original story. It showed that the first season wasn't a fluke, that the show can maintain quality and even improve over time. It expanded the Avatar universe for a new audience while satisfying existing fans, which is a difficult balance that many adaptations fail to achieve. So, is Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 2 worth your time? Absolutely. It's a strong season of television that delivers action, heart, humor, and meaningful themes. It respects its source material while making it work for live action. It features strong performances, impressive visuals, and thoughtful writing. Whether you're a longtime fan of Avatar or completely new to the property, there's something here to enjoy. The show has found its identity and is executing it with confidence and skill, making this a must-watch for fantasy fans and anyone looking for quality television that works for multiple age groups. It's an exciting time to be an Avatar fan, and this season delivers on the promise of bringing this beloved world to life in a new and compelling way.